Okay, this is Big Lair. I believe this is video 5. This is a continuation of the last one, which was these, I was just talking about this sleep protection ritual. Yeah, right? And, oops, I'm just using my watch from the gym here to help me out. Okay. So I had just talked about how you put these lines of protection, these double lines of protection around your room, and then what you say, right? Hopefully you can hear what I said. If something's not clear, get in touch with me on the Discord, because it's a very, very helpful and profound thing. Yeah, I just can't say enough about it. Okay, now, as I was explaining it to you, then I really wanted to tell you, I wanted to expand on what I do with this. Okay, so, and I've been doing this since I was a teenager. Okay, and I periodically do it in the room that I'm in. This room that I'm in, I've been here for 1.5 years now, and I periodically do it again, even though I did it one time, which I think is enough, but I'll periodically do it again just to like ramp up the energy. There's also something else I do. Now, if you're like me, you're very curious, and you're thinking, okay, well, we just did the 4 walls, but what about the floor and the ceiling? Can't entities come in through the floor and ceiling? And I would say no. However, I'm a pretty curious person, so what I've done through the years is the first time I do this ritual, and then I lay down in bed, and I imagine that, okay, I've got this protective barrier up now. And then I also imagine it's become like a cube, maybe a rectangular cube or whatever. It won't be a perfect cube, but you get the idea. You know what your walls look like, and then add your floor and ceiling to it. So you're basically deciding on on where your ceiling is going to end, and where your floor is going to, or where your ceiling is going to be, and where your floor is going to be. And then I imagine that this cube, this box, is floating in space. I do this a couple different ways, actually. I'll give you the one I really enjoy. I imagine it's in the ocean, a very deep ocean. This box is in a very deep ocean, and I'm I'm watching all of these fish, and I like killer whales and dolphins. They're my favorites, and I like regular whales too. So I'll imagine that I'm allowing dolphins and killer whales into my box, this protective barrier box that I've created. I'm allowing them to swim by, say hi to me. And then I imagine something like a shark who comes by, and he doesn't get in, he or she. So he doesn't get in because just for whatever reason, I don't, maybe the shark doesn't have an intention to do anything bad, but just in my mind, I'm, what's the right word? I'm deciding what gets in and what doesn't get in. So the shark doesn't get in if the intentions are bad. So that's one thing I do. Just as a mental exercise to help me understand that the ceiling and the floor they actually exist, right? So the things that I want to let in get in, but the things I don't want to let in don't get in. Okay, and then I do this other one. And I do it with multiple objects. Sometimes I choose an asteroid. Sometimes I choose the Star Destroyer from Star Wars. You can imagine the Star Destroyer, right? I've even done what's that big planet in Star Wars they blow up? The dark side has it, the Emperor has it. Shoot. Man, my kids would be shocked if they knew I couldn't remember that from the Death Star. The Death Star. Sometimes I use like the Death Star. You just pick whatever you want. And then I imagine that I've got my box, my protective box, and it's real size, and then the Death Star is approaching me. And when the Death Star makes, or the Star Destroyer, whatever, we'll just use the Death Star because it's like huge, right, like a planet. When it makes contact with my box, my protective barrier, nothing happens to me or my box. The the Death Star crumbles around my box, and my box is able to move through the Death Star, and now the Death Star is being damaged as I move through, or the Star Destroyer, or if an asteroid's coming, like the asteroid hits my box and then it just like explodes and goes around my box, and my box, the asteroid now is broken off into millions of pieces, and my box just keeps going on like nothing happened. And that's something I do to show how powerful this protective barrier is, and that nothing is getting in. Now, if you wanted to carry this a step further, and maybe I'm getting way off on a tangent here, years ago there was this guy, Don Croft, and his wife was Carol Croft, and they made these things called HHGs. Remember, they were like a pyramid shape. Some of you watching this, you're going to know what I'm talking about. They were like a pyramid shape or a cone shape. You needed crystals, you needed like some kind of metal shavings, and you got yourself some kind of form. You made a form like you made a pyramid, you turn it over and you dump in your metal shavings, you plop your crystal in there, maybe you have some kind of copper wire vortex thing you've made, then you pour resin on top of it, and then when it dries, you take it out and boom, you've got this resin and metal shaving thing they called a HHG or whatever. And that really resonated with me. It's made of resin. I'm saying resonate. Anyway, I made a couple devices myself, and they were like powerful, like really powerful, extremely powerful. I won't get into that because that's a whole other video. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that if you had some of these devices, in fact, there was another guy, he was out in California, I forget his name. He was a well-known psychic. He owned a chain of music stores. He had 4 kids. He was married. He was on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Man, I can't remember his name. Very good psychic. And then he started writing about all of the negative things the powers that be were doing. And then his life was pretty much trashed, pretty much destroyed. And in the end, he was so hard up, he had to sell his library, all of his books. And I got most of his books. And I was connected with somebody, and I heard that, hey, do you know this guy? Yeah, I know this guy, and he wants to sell his books. I made an offer, and I think I got 75 or 80% of his books. It was like woo-woo type stuff, I don't want to say, like, maybe you'd call it magic or how the universe works or whatever. Pretty interesting library of books. Anyway, and this guy made these things. Has anybody seen something like this? Now this guy used gold, if I'm not mistaken. This is back when gold was pretty cheap, right? This is metal shavings is gold on the top. There's some stones in here with a little copper coil. It's kind of hard to see, I know that, but this is like a protective thing. And so I knew this guy, and he, out of the blue, sent me a bunch of those things and then a few other things that were different shapes and had different uses to them. And he said to me, you're going to need these. You're going to need these in the future. I was pretty shocked that he just like sent them to me. He wouldn't take any money, even though the guy was really hard up. And he was right. I did need those things here in Japan, because a lot of stuff happened to me while I was living here. So anyway, what I was going to say, if you have these HHG things, these are resin and metal shaving things with the crystals in them, they're very powerful. You can connect with these things. So where I live now, I have a bunch of them set up around the perimeter of the property in different places. So I believe if you like, you could, you've got your barrier, your box for your room, you could expand that out. Like if you put, let's say you put like in the corner of your property or the corner of your house, you put, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these things. You could expand your energy out and use those HHG things to be like pillars of protective light, like really huge, strong pillars. And then you could, make your lines connecting those 4 pillars of light. And then now your box of protection has become bigger to encase your whole house. And I did something like that years ago so that I could include my kids into my protective barrier. So anyway, yes. Let's see. Oh, the next thing. This is the third thing this Indian woman told me about. And she said, when we sleep, we have 2 bodies. We have our physical body, and then we have our astral body. And when we sleep, our astral body kind of rises above our physical body. And sometimes when you wake up, it doesn't quite, go back perfectly. Maybe you wake up and you feel really tired, or you just feel like, something's not right. You're stumbling around, like, geez, why am I stumbling around? Probably because you didn't get your astral body back perfectly with your physical body. So this lady taught me a very simple thing. And if you feel like that, you either lay down on your bed with your arms at your sides, and you want to be in a position that you can easily visualize in your mind. You close your eyes, you visualize yourself laying down, or you visualize yourself, sitting up like I am now. You close your eyes and you say, my 2 bodies will become 1 body immediately, and so it is, and so be it. And once you say that, just imagine that maybe something is slightly off. And just as you're visualizing your body, just imagine everything like just becoming 1. And that works great. I have done this numerous times in numerous places. I've always had good results with it, and almost immediately I feel like, oh, that's what I needed. So I hope that helps. That's also a very useful technique. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've got a few other things that I could talk about, but I'm going to spend some time uploading these videos and see how they go, and then I'll make more videos, okay? Okay, this is Big Lair signing off. Hope everybody's doing great.